Hey guys, Super Godzilla Final Wars here, and I am back once again with another video. Today's what if for today is going to be about what if the Stan Winston Godzilla movie was made, or aka the original American Godzilla movie. As we all know, there was previously going to be a Godzilla movie in 1994 before Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla came out. This was going to be the original American Godzilla movie. However, due to a lot of budget and, of course, a bunch of other problems, this film was later canceled and was later on replaced with the 1998 Godzilla movie. And as we all know to this day, not a whole lot of Godzilla fans are accepting of Zilla. While there are some people who do like Zilla, myself included, but we all have to admit, Zilla did not do that well as Godzilla. In fact, the new directors portrayed this version of Godzilla as just an animal, because they saw that Godzilla was nothing more but a destructive force of nature, and they wanted to make this Godzilla just an animal trying to survive, and the message of the film was basically about is humanity the monsters, for just simply killing a monster, or just simply killing a creature that was not only trying to survive, but trying to, well, keep its offspring alive, let's say. Continue its species. But as we all know, Toho, the rightful owners to Godzilla, were furious about this version of Godzilla. They absolutely despised it. It felt like it did not deserve the name Godzilla, which as a result, they shortened the monster's name into Zilla. They just took the God out of the name and just left Zilla there, declaring him as not Godzilla, but as a somewhat of a subspecies of Godzilla. And like I said before, we are all previously aware about the current history about the unmade Stan Winston Godzilla film. And how that movie was never made. But what if things took a different turn? What if, folks, the Stan Winston Godzilla movie was actually made? How would this change everything? Would Stan Winston be the most popular American Godzilla? Will legendary Godzilla still be popular to the fans? And most importantly, what will happen to Zilla? Will he just be a forgotten character? Or will he still exist, but just not in the way that we think? Well, today, folks, I'm going to answer that question. So, what if this unmade American Godzilla movie was made? Of course, most likely, a lot of fans will be really happy to see an American Godzilla movie. And depending on Toho's reaction or very own opinion about this particular movie, maybe they'll probably give, if the company who made the movie, possibly, I think it was TriStar? Yeah, I think it was TriStar. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below, but yeah. They would give TriStar permission to make possibly even more Godzilla movies. Possibly introducing us to a bunch of iconic characters. From possibly Rodan, Mothra, Anguirus, King Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla, etc. This American Godzilla movie will most likely be the most popular American Godzilla movie out there to this day. Let's say that in this alternative universe, fans praise this version of Godzilla. They love this movie. And the kaiju that he fights, Griffin. And like I said before, if Toho gives TriStar permission to make more movies about this version of Godzilla, then most likely we'll see TriStar versions of our beloved characters. Possibly Godzilla the series would possibly be about this particular Godzilla. This particular Godzilla will most likely be the main focus of Godzilla the series. And possibly become the most popular American Godzilla to this day. But how will this change the other two American Godzillas? How will this change their stories? Will the MonsterVerse Godzilla still be created? And will Zilla still be created, but just in a different way? As we already know, Legendary Studios bought the rights to Godzilla in order to make their own movie about the King of the Monsters. And of course, his movie would be better than the 1998 Godzilla movie. But that is in the current timeline. But in this new timeline, would Legendary still buy the rights to Godzilla despite TriStar using the character? And that's another question. Will TriStar still use Godzilla? Possibly. It is a possibility. But what about Legendary? Would Legendary Godzilla still exist in this alternative universe where Stan Winston Godzilla movie was made? Most likely, Legendary Godzilla will still be made, but this is where the twist happens. In this alternative reality, Legendary Godzilla is not nearly as loved or respected by the fans, most likely because they prefer the Stan Winston Godzilla. And the reason why they prefer the Stan Winston Godzilla is because he looks like the classic Godzilla. Not only that, while it was true that the Stan Winston Godzilla did got tranquilized, but he was not afraid to fight back against the military. In fact, the military was not able to hurt this version of the King of the Monsters. But Legendary Godzilla, he feels pain when when the military are shooting at him. This has been proven many times in the MonsterVerse, from Godzilla 2014 to Godzilla vs. Kong. The reason why they included the New Empire was because I noticed in that one scene when Godzilla was consuming the nuclear radiation, the military was unable, Godzilla didn't feel any pain. This was probably most likely due to him consuming a lot of nuclear energy. And stood his ground like the classic Godzilla. With that out of the way, let's continue. So, probably the Stan Winston Godzilla would be more accepted by the fans rather than the MonsterVerse Godzilla. I'm not saying the MonsterVerse Godzilla is hated by the fans in this alternative universe, but the fans prefer his movies because they watched his movies. Because the fans watched the Stan Winston Godzilla movies even ever since Toho's last Japanese Godzilla movie came to an end. That movie being Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Now, I know you're also going to be wondering, does this mean in this alternative universe the Millennium movies don't exist? I wouldn't really say that, because this is where Zilla comes in. Most likely, another director will most likely come and try to do his own version of Godzilla. And of course, his own version of Godzilla will turn out the same way that Zilla turned out in the original movie. With the only difference being that the 1998 Godzilla movie takes place in the Stan Winston universe. Basically, in the original American Godzilla universe. Of course, Toho and, of course, the other creators of the Stan Winston Godzilla would actually be a little offended by this version of Godzilla, and as usual, Toho will rename the monster into Zilla. Well, Zilla will still be hated by the fans for quote-unquote being Godzilla. But the difference in this alternative universe is that Zilla actually plays somewhat of a role in the Stan Winston Godzilla universe. In the Stan Winston Godzilla universe, Zilla is seen as somewhat of a subspecies of Godzilla. A creature that looks like Godzilla, but not really Godzilla. Now, the other question is, would these two monsters fight each other? Well, that simply depends. That depends if the makers of the Stan Winston Godzilla want to fight Zilla. If this does happen, then we will see a Godzilla versus Zilla battle. Most likely, the 1998 Godzilla series, also known as Godzilla the series, will most likely still happen, and Zilla Jr. will be widely accepted by the fans, but not his mother. His mother will not be accepted by the fans at all. But here's another question. This question being a very interesting one. What if TriStar and Legendary did a crossover with their own Godzillas?